Hi folks, it's Sarah here and it's the end of week 20 and it's been fantastic. I have had an awesome week because all of a sudden I hit 56 kilos. I was so excited I even took a photograph of the scales. But that means after sort of 3 weeks of being stuck at 58 and I was really getting very frustrated and I was just going, this is just not working. I just don't feel that it's going to happen. Even though I was stuck at 58, something changed over the last sort of week and a half. So last week I was saying how I just hardened up. And once I harden up, I just got this hard look. And once I get that hard look, it's like my body kind of goes into a different gear. My energy's been really good this week. I've really been smashing out my workouts. I've done sprints every day. It must be the sprints. I'm convinced of it now. But in the last 2 weeks, all of a sudden, I've dropped 2 kilos. So from creeping along at sort of an average rate of 0.3 kilograms a week, all of a sudden in 2 weeks, I've lost 2 kilos. And that's just the way my body works. When it wants to go, it just goes. And it's really sort of obviously boosted my motivation. It's boosted my confidence. And I'm heading off to England on Friday. And I was desperate to get down to 56 kilos by the time I went away for England because I've got 3 weeks away. I know I'm going to be off diet. I know I'm going to be traveling all over the place. I know it's going to mess things up. I'm going to do what I can when I can, but it's not going to be consistent. So when I get back, I've only got 10 weeks to the PMBA World Cup on September the 7th in Sydney. Now, the reason I wanted to get to 56 was because 10 weeks, I ought, even at 0.3 kilograms a week, I ought to be able to get 2 kilos off me. And I know at 54, I'm competitive. Well, I won my 2 Universe World titles at 54 and a half. So I know at 54 that I'll be looking really good. 53 would be even better because at 53, I was 53 when I did the Arnold Classic and I got third in figure short. So I was absolutely rapt at that. That I was so thrilled at that result because that was such a phenomenally tough lineup. If you've ever done the Arnold Classic, it's a fierce lineup. So to get third in figure open short at the Arnold Classic at 53, I know I look really, really, really good. That's why I wanted to get down to 56. I've just been smashing out my workouts. My energy's been good. And, it must be the sprints. I've been sprinting every day this week. Certainly I sort of upped the sprints last week, and I'm convinced that's what's making the difference. You can see the comparison here. So I've just done all my comparisons. So here I was back in January, and all of a sudden now, look at me in May. You can see that I've just got that hard look. My legs are looking huge in comparison to my waist now, which is fantastic. I love it when I get to that stage where my legs start looking huge in comparison to my waist. From the other side, again, you can see my obliques. You can see some nice shape, and you can see the nice point on my shoulder, which is really coming out beautifully. So look, and my bum's starting to look pointy. So that's really cool. I've got obliques. Look at my shoulders now. They're really starting to look nice and round. I've got that beautiful cap on my shoulders now, and there's some real leanness through my biceps. So look, I'm really starting to feel good about myself. And look at my back. Look at the difference in my back. Like, holy crap. It even looks like I've got striations. Just a hint, and maybe even, this might be wishful thinking, but maybe even the hint of a Christmas tree. I mean, that's just the difference. My ass is freaking huge, by the way. I mean, my trainer's been saying he really thinks that I've put some muscle on my ass, and potentially I have. I mean, my ass is still looking fucking huge. Weight to lose there. But look, at 56, even with another sort of 3 or 4 kilos coming off me, from now on, I'm just going to look better. So I thought what I'd do is I'd actually show the progress comparison. So back in week 16, I put up this chart. I dropped my calories, sitting on about 1250. We'd had all this sort of stop, start, and sort of just about got down to sort of 58 kind of thing. I haven't changed my diet at all since. So I've been like consistent. And look at this. Boom. All of a sudden, the weight has just fallen off a cliff. you see, this is what I usually expect on a prep. So all of this sort of up, down is just what's been throwing me completely, because this consistency here is exactly what I'm used to. So the fact that it's finally kicked in is really, really super motivating. I'm absolutely stoked. And so I did a sort of a forecast as well. So originally I was forecasting I'd be on stage at 51 kilos, which is fantastic. When I won Olympia and my Dual World Cups back in 2017, I was 51 and a half. So look, even though it really wasn't working, over the long term, I was still relatively on track. Now with that extra sort of just this last couple of weeks, that sort of gradient's come in, and potentially I could even hit stage at 50 and a half. Now I probably won't, because I'm going to have to get a DEXA, but last time, 2017, when I had my DEXA, I was actually 49.9 kilograms lean body mass. So the fact that I was on stage at 51 and a half kilos, shows how low my body fat percentage was. So I really must get a DEXA scan now, because I actually don't think that 50.5 is feasible. Potentially that could put me down at sort of sub 5% body fat, which is extremely dangerous, and I don't really want to get there. So look, I'm really pleased that my projected weight is going to be absolutely bang on track. And potentially what that actually means is, like I say, if I want to hit 51 and a half, it potentially means that I might hit that at about week 33, which is 2 weeks out from the PNBA. Now, I've said this all the way through. I like coming in 2 weeks early, because then I get to practice a peak week. And actually, I'm absolutely thrilled, because the IFBB have a show in Bendigo, and the Bendigo Classic was supposed to be in the middle of July, and I was actually going to do that anyway, kind of assuming that having done the Greece thing, I'd be ready. But what's happened is that the IFBB have now moved this show to the 31st of August, which is perfect. I always like to do a warm-up show before a major world title. So the timing is absolutely spot on, because it means potentially I'll come in 2 weeks early, which is exactly what I like to do. There's a show that I can do before, I can do a warm-up show to shake out the cobwebs. I always like to just, get back on stage, shake out the cobwebs, get my legs, get the whole routine going. So it'll give me an opportunity to do a full practice run in a full show scenario. So I'm stoked. The IFBB, well done, thank you very much. I'm going to do the IFBB Bendigo Classic on the 31st of August, which will warm me up nicely for the PNBA World Cup in Sydney on September the 7th. And here's the thing, I've said this all the way through. The more I compete, the better I look. Competing brings your condition in. So I'm really, really pleased with this. Like I say, it looks like I'm potentially going to come in 2 weeks early. I'm not counting my chickens at all. It just depends how I hold whilst I'm in England. And my goal really for England is to come back at the same weight that I left. So if I come back and I'm still at 56, then I'll consider that a success. If I've put on anything, then that's going to make it incredibly tough. Obviously, I'm going to be doing as much as I can, as often as I can, to make sure that potentially I even come in under 56. But look, let's see how we go. Now, the next thing I wanted to go through was my posing, and I've got some videos here. Now, every day during my prep, I actually do my posing. And one thing that I do is what I call flow posing. And flow posing is really where I just go through the routine of doing the poses and making sure that I really get connected with not only how the pose feels for my body, because of course when you're on stage you don't have mirrors. So you need to get used to the feel of the poses. So what I do is I video myself, and I make sure that I'm just moving into the shape. I'm not flexing here. You can see here on the video that I'm not flexing. I'm literally just moving into the shape. You should always move into the pose, get the shape right, get the feeling and the sensation right before you flex, because it's much easier to move when your muscles are not tensed. And this is how you create a much more elegant transition. So I always look for a number of things. I look for, is my transition flowing and smooth? I don't want to see any jerks or stops or stumbles. Does the whole thing hang together well? Am I making deliberate choreographed movements? You always want to do big movements on stage. You don't want to do little small movements because that indicates nervousness. So big expansive movements actually indicate confidence. Even if you're shaking in your boots, you can hide that through big expansive movements. And every time I go into a pose, I'm always looking for an opportunity to throw in a mini pose. So, for example, on my side chest, when I bring my hands together, I squeeze my chest there, and I squeeze my thigh on, so I've got a chest and thigh. On my tricep, I stick my arm out and show, so they can see my tricep as well as my back. Between my back double bicep, when I come out of the rear double bicep, I always throw in my back symmetry pose. My back is my strongest point, so I always want to look for an opportunity to throw in an extra back pose. And even with the abs and thighs, because that's such a sort of kind of wobbly pose, I always want to make it look elegant and beautiful. I always want to be symmetrical. Are my arms making the same shapes all the time? And then once I've done everything on one side, I also pose all of the poses again on the other side. You see, you must become an ambi-poser. And that means you've got to be able to do all of your poses. It doesn't matter what category you're, bikini, fitness, figure, physique. You've got to be able to do all of your poses on both sides, because sometimes in a tight lineup, judges will tell you all to face the same way. Now, if you're not used to posing on that same way, instantly you're going to mark yourself out as somebody who hasn't practiced their posing, and not, somebody who's not taken pride in their performance, because you will make that pose on your unfamiliar side look a little bit awkward. The transition will be stiff. It won't flow as well. So always practice your posing on both sides, and make sure that you really, really get the sensation of the poses. So I recommend that you set up a camera somewhere where you can't see yourself. So you really have to learn the sensation of the poses, because this is what will happen on stage. You've really just got to learn the sensation of the poses. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this week. Like I say, I'm on holiday as of Friday, so for the next 3 weeks I probably won't do any updates, but it'll be interesting to see how I go. Like I say, I'm going to try and keep it as tight as possible, do as much as I possibly can when I possibly can, and the goal is to come back at no heavier than 56 kilos. So we'll see how it goes. So until 3 weeks' time, gosh, it'll be the end of June. Take care. We'll see you next time.